How did you use media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages? Question 4. YouTube provides users with the ability to upload, view, share, comment, and subscribe to other users. It offers a diverse range of user-generated and corporate media videos with content such as music videos, TV shows, trailers, and educational videos, and so on. Prior to this process, I had used YouTube many times before, so my familiarity of it made the site much easier to navigate and use efficiently and effectively. My first blog under research and planning involved analysing 3 music videos that were of a similar concept to the music video I intended on filming at this stage. This consisted of identifying key features in a music video, such as camera movement, editing transition, mise-en-scène, intertextuality, dominant ideologies, etc. When writing about this, it was essential to include key media terminology to advance the level of my work. Using YouTube was crucial in the making of the post because the criteria stated I should embed a video of the song I was discussing onto my blog with reference to the title of the song and its artist. From experience of this post, working with YouTube was very beneficial to me because it will make my writing appear much more coherent as the reader can watch the video simultaneously when reading my analysis. Moreover, YouTube acted as one of my main sources of inspiration. By watching and embedding music videos to my blog that already existed on YouTube, it allowed me to gradually gain ideas of my own, which contributed to the production of my music video. This included research into the categories of music videos, in which by watching videos that were characterized under these headings, I became fully aware of what it meant by performative, narrative, and concept-based music videos. However, despite this being to my own doing, when using the technology, it was very easy to become distracted by other videos. There are times where I perhaps use the excuse of making a music video as an excuse to watch pre-existing and my favourite ones on YouTube. As a result, potentially there was time wasted upon using this platform, especially when researching former music videos. Irregardless of this, it would have been very difficult to fulfill and complete my work to the highest standard if it weren't for the use of YouTube, so in this sense, I am glad I used it. When researching music video theorists such as Andrew Goodwin, Laura Mulvey, and Barthes, I used YouTube videos to obtain a further understanding of their ideas and its relation to the creation of music videos. Even though I already had initial research from these theorists provided by a combination of teachers, my peers, and the internet, as a final step into my research, I referred to YouTube to ensure my understandings of their theories were correct. Also, watching videos of these provided clear examples of where, for example, Andrew Goodwin's work had been integrated into artists' work. I am explicitly talking about the following link, which was beneficial to me in fully comprehending Andrew Goodwin's theory of music videos. Further examples of videos I had watched in the planning and research stages to help me understand other theorists' work are: due to the maximum storage on EduBlocks being so small, I was unable to upload the original MP4 version of my music video, Seven Nation Army. Thus, I resorted to YouTube, in which I made my video public with the permission of the recording company, so that I could insert a link of my own music video onto my blog. EduBlocks is a blog-based website created for educational purposes. Due to teachers setting up our blog, this was one of the only media platforms and technology where realistically I had minimal choice and influence in the decision to use this. When first introduced to this website at AS, I had never heard of it and thus never used it in the past. Nevertheless, due to its simple and easy to use format, it did not take long at all to grasp the concepts of this website. This was important because it acts as the basis for all my coursework to be presented on. Thankfully, with a whole year's worth of familiarity and experience with the site, I had minimal difficulty coming to terms with it again. In fact, The part I had most trouble with was choosing the theme and design in which to present my blog. After much contemplation and many design changes, I finally opted for Awesome Press, as this gave me a simplistic template which did not take away from the main purpose of my blog and is easier for the user to navigate to my different blog posts. Over the course of the 2 years, I have learned more about the different functions of the blog and how it works. This is shown by my blog appearing more organized, where each blog post appears under different subheadings. Not only is this easier to use for the user, but it has also allowed me to see what work is yet to be completed. This was the case when there were no links attached to the list under the page title Music Video. When working through my blog, generally I completed each blog post in chronological order, as it showed me how organized I was being. Moreover, by working through the pages methodically, it certified that the next and back pages were linking to the correct post situated at the bottom of each page. I try to use simple blog posts as little as possible because it does not provide the reader with a clear representation of my creative abilities. However, sometimes I felt this was the best way to get my thoughts and ideas across. Blog posts are a straightforward way of getting directly to the point. This was generally the case for much longer posts which required considerably more wording until a complete response was generated. For example, posts such as analysis of 3 music videos, copyright permission, Bath semiology, conventions of music videos, and chosen genre, lyrics, and representation all include an element of text written straight onto EduBlogs. The advantages of this are that I could easily use a combination of text and images linked to get my message across. Also, I could ensure there were no technical difficulties which resulted in the reader being unable to read my work. However, as mentioned previously, there are major flaws of using this method of technology, as it does not provide a clear vision of my inventive and artistic integrity. Finally, despite EduBlogs being a good way of allowing me to access all my work from both home and school, there are a few occasions too that I can recall in which the website crashed, so I was unable to work on my coursework. This was frustrating, as I felt there were times I was limited in the work I could complete due to factors that were completely out of my hands. Although I got around this by simply working on aspects of my coursework that did not require the admission to EduBlog sites. I decided to use a blog post for my treatment because it was an aspect of my coursework that I kept referring to and adapting to when carrying out my research and planning stages. This was because there would be times where I would think of a new idea or concept relating to my music video, which would be essential to include in my treatment. For this reason, I hold the opinion that it was most suitable to write this as a blog post because it allowed me to constantly go back and edit and add parts wherever necessary. If I had done this in the form of a presentation or video, the process of adding to it would have been much more difficult and lengthy, as I would have to embed it into the blog again, making sure the link works from different devices. In fact, a large majority of my pre-production posts was simply written text onto a blog post. The reason I chose to do this was for very similar reasons as for my treatment. During pre-production stages and the process before filming, there was not once where I finished a blog post and did not refer back to it and edit or add things. This was due to new ideas and inspiration I had obtained in the meantime, which further developed my final product. Thus, despite these not providing a clear representation of my creative abilities, it was useful having my work presented in this format when I had the intention of revisiting these posts. There were not many times I used Outlook in the making of my work. However, it was essential in proving to the reader I had requested permission to use the White Stripes song Seven Nation Army. To do this, I used my school email and a template provided by school to construct my letter to Andrew Friedman, the person who I found I had to contact in able to be granted permission to use the song. Much to my surprise, after the small conversation that took place between myself and Andrew, I was granted the ability to use the song provided it was not released to a wider audience. To respect their decision, it was agreed that I could upload my final music video to YouTube as a public video, but this is to be removed once the whole moderating process is over. Outlook and Gmail are technologies which I use on a daily basis for both educational purposes and for myself. For this reason, I had no trouble in sending the email as a result of the fast and purposeful technology. Without this, I would have been unsuccessful in gaining approval to use the Seven Nation Army song. I used my Gmail account for websites that required me to use the username and password to continue onto the site. This was because I did not want any spam or subscription mail to fill up my inbox, especially my school email, as there is limited capacity for the number of mails allowed in our inbox. Also, email was extremely useful when it came to transferring footage from my phone to my laptop and school computer. By using a USB cable, I was able to import photos and videos from my iPhone to my laptop. Then, there are occasions where I did not have enough storage on my memory stick and thus had to resort to sending this footage via email, which allowed me to access it at school. One problem I came across was that some files were too big to be sent by email. To solve this problem, I resorted to purchasing a new memory stick which I could use to just transfer footage from home to school. I used SurveyMonkey to illustrate my audience questionnaire. I carried this out so I could get a more detailed understanding of the likes and dislikes of my consumers. By emailing my finished survey to members of my school, it gave me the opportunity to hear the voice and opinions of those who are less accessible and people I would not usually speak to. Thus, I was not biased in the people I asked to fill out my survey. It also had a large impact on the production of my work because it provided me with quick, up-to-date responses, which otherwise could have taken weeks to gather if the survey was carried out by postal ways. Furthermore, the website featured technologies in which I was able to send my survey out to people across various social media platforms. This enforced my decision to send a link to my friends and peers from outside school to answer my survey. By doing this, it ensured my results were not just obtained from Bournemouth School for Girls and were collated from a wider audience perspective. Unfortunately, upon using this software, I must take into account the possibility of the existence of social desirability bias, in which the respondent may answer purely based on what results they think I wish to obtain. Moreover, there was the issue of some responses possibly being answered jokingly, which overall was not useful in answering my questions. Finally, due to my use of the free online version, I was only permitted to ask a maximum of 10 questions per survey, which really limited me on what questions I could ask my audience. Irregardless of this minor setback, I was still able to gain information from a decent number of peers, which helped me on the content and information of my music video. The PowerPoint software presented by Microsoft allows users to create an electronic presentation of slides. With this, users can use texts, photos, illustrations, drawings, tables, graphs, and movies to efficiently walk an audience through a presentation. Having used PowerPoint for numerous years on end, I had no trouble in using this software as I am completely aware of the uses it offers in order to create a high-performance presentation. It also helped that a few years ago I achieved a Microsoft Office Specialist qualification for this software, which largely helped my ability to use PowerPoint to its fullest potential. I used PowerPoint to analyse my focus group results. This was useful because by conducting this, I was able to identify my consumers' feelings and perceptions, which helped to smooth over any irregular findings that were obtained from my target audience research. The focus group consisted of girls aged 17 to 18 whom were asked to listen to the Seven Nation Army song and write down any shot ideas, concepts, and ideas they had which were not influenced by watching the original music video. Using PowerPoint presentation to express these findings was useful because it allowed me to upload scanned images of my peers' responses, which were high quality and were easily readable. Unlike some softwares I've tried, PowerPoint maintained the original resolution of the image. I was extremely glad about this because it meant I was able to show the unique responses from each participant. However, it is key to point out that it did require numerous attempts for the scanner to work at school, as for some reason the icon would not appear which connected the scanner to the computer at school. This was frustrating because I felt I had wasted time on such a simple task that under normal circumstances would have taken 10 minutes tops. Looking back on this now, it would have been significantly quicker had I taken pictures of these responses from my phone and imported the photos to the computer. Unlike my experience with the scanner, I enjoyed using PowerPoint because I was able to select and create a template which fit well alongside the concept of my music video. After completing my presentation, I later found out that I was unable to directly insert a finished PowerPoint onto EduBlogs. Initially, I was under the assumption that I would have to recreate my presentation using alternative software. However, after playing around with the settings of the format of the PowerPoint, I was able to convert the presentation from a PowerPoint format into an MP4 video. Because of this, I was able to adjust the duration of each slide to ensure the reader had enough time to read each slide without being rushed. As a result, I was able to successfully insert my presentation onto my blog. Moreover, to add another form of technology into my response to this question, I have inserted a recording in the bottom right-hand corner of each slide where I am reading the text. This allows the reader to follow along with what I'm saying. Finally, by doing this recording, I was sure to leave a long enough space for the viewer to read this response. Prezi is the perfect way of transforming your everyday PowerPoint into an interesting presentation that links imagery to motion in just the click of a button. I use this software many times throughout my blog in posts such as target audience and categories of music videos. One reason I like using Prezi is because it's completely free and provides access from any web-enabled computer. I chose Prezi to complete these two posts because in both cases involved a main heading which I then needed to separate into different subheadings. Using Prezi made this distinction very clear because I could have larger circles representing the main topics of conversation, then attached to these were smaller ones which would be linked to the larger ones. This was a clear way to show the audience the different subjects I would be referring to within my presentations. For example, in my categories of music videos post, there are three main topics: performance-based music videos, narrative-based music videos, and concept-based music videos. All information regarding these was shown in larger slides. Then, any subtopic of each of these were presented to the audience in a smaller one to show the audience the subject had not changed. However, one negative aspect of Prezi is its occasional incompatibility on school computers. Despite embedding a link of my completed presentation onto my blog a number of times, there were times where the viewer was unable to view it in large screen, which potentially made some of the smaller fonts harder to read. This was unsatisfying because it meant I had to divert the reader to the Prezi website in order to read my presentation. I used Prezi to present my post about equipment and props because it was actually a very good way of reminding me what to bring on each day of filming. Due to not being presented in text straight onto the blog format, it was much easier for me to remember what to bring on each day of filming, ensuring I did not forget any vital props or equipment. Also, I feel that because the soldiers' belongings were a very unique and personal aspect of my music video and ancillary products, it was difficult to forget these. Finally, I used Prezi in response to the evaluation question 3. What have you learned from your target audience feedback? I felt this was most suitable because I was able to clearly distinct between the comments on my music video and ancillary products by separating these responses into the different circles provided. Padlet acts as an online mood board in which posts can be pinned to a background of the user's choice. Before being introduced to this software, I had never heard of it before, so I was unaware of some features it had to offer. After conducting some research and reviewing some examples of it that had been used in the past, I knew it was the perfect software to use for aspects of my blog. I used Padlet in reference to Julia Kristeva's theory of intertextuality. I liked how the website acted almost like a scrapbook, so I thought I had a lot of freedom in where I was able to position my text, links, and images. For this reason, I found the system relatively easy to use and get along with. A huge advantage of being able to use Padlet is that it's free. This allowed me to create an online wall which acts as a virtual notepad where I could share my ideas. Moreover, the software is extremely mobile, meaning I could access my work and edit it from my laptop and at home, and computer at school, and even my iPhone. Moreover, unlike Prezi, YouTube, and EduBlogs, for example, it does not always require a username and password to access your work. However, there are times I did not get along with this software because due to its fairly simplistic manner, there is not much leeway in which I could add my own personal touch to the wall. Overall, this meant that the presentation was not very interactive with the user, which is an aspect I am not particularly fond of. Also, I found it very limiting the page layout, as there were some templates I could not arrange the sequence of texts where I would wish to. Emaze is very similar to Prezi in the sense that it is a presentation software that involves selecting templates to work from. I did like using this piece of technology because the outcome of my work was clean and professional looking. Additionally, it supports the use of high quantity text presentations and does not reduce the quality of them. Although, in saying this, even though I embedded a version of my research into the music industry presentation onto my blog, I later on found from peers that sometimes these presentations were not viewable in full screen mode. To be sure I was clear of this issue, I made sure to insert a link directly to the Emaze website, which provides the reader with a second option to view my presentation if the first does not work. During lesson times and at school, I had used school computers to work on my coursework. A lot of my work I had to save onto my D drive because we are not given a lot of storage space in our own documents. This, however, made it difficult to work from home for some aspects of my blog, as I frequently relied on RM Portico to access my work. Because much of my work is on this D drive, it meant I could only work from this computer, which proved difficult in processes such as editing my music video and creating my digipack. The main reason for this is because not all computers in school have these softwares, and neither do I at home due to the sheer expense of them. Thankfully, a large majority of the teachers did not mind if I sat in their lesson and did some work, which I'm extremely grateful for. The only problem would be if there was someone using the computer in which all my work was stored on. Thankfully, this only occurred on a small number of occasions. When working on my own laptop, in some respects it was slightly easier because I could save my work wherever I wished with no obstacles serving in the way. Moreover, it was a way in which I could carry on working on my coursework if for any reason I was unable to use the computer from school. Using my laptop worked in the majority of cases was suitable, but there are some areas in which this was not the case, in which I shall expand on later. Finally, due to it being Windows 8, it was easily compatible with that of school software, so there was no difficulty in the transferability of my work in this sense. As mentioned formerly, the scanner at school did have its temperamental moments. I contemplated using my own one at home, but I feared the quality would not be adequate. Thus, to show my workings of my storyboard, I decided to take pictures of it on my iPhone and import them to my laptop, which I was then able to upload onto my blog from home. When doing this, I had to ensure I rotated the pictures because some of them were displayed at varying rotations and would have been difficult for the viewer to read. Moreover, a large proportion of my music video was filmed using my iPhone 7, a tripod, and my phone adapter. I actually preferred this over using my Sony camera because I was able to adjust the settings of which I filmed in much more easily, so that in the end I chose to film in 1080p HD at 60 FPS, which overall gave me much better quality footage than when I filmed with my camera. As a result of choosing to film with my iPhone, I had to make sure I adjusted the frame rate on Cyberlink PowerDirector so that the video could run as smoothly as possible. The only disadvantage of using my phone when it came to filming was that it made the battery reduce so quickly that I could only film for approximately an hour and a half at a time before I was unable to continue filming. This made no difference to my process of filming, however, because as I learnt from my first day of filming, in which I filmed with my first protagonist, Luke, who later dropped out of the process, I knew that for future filming days I would need to bring a portable charger with me to ensure this did not happen again. In some ways, this hiccup in changing actors taught me a lot of things about this process, so I was able to produce a music video and 2 ancillary projects that well suited the conventions of the alternative rock genre. Before discovering this website, I originally had the photos of myself filming as evidence simply presented and inserted individually onto the blog. However, upon discovery, I decided to change this and upload the 3 photos onto this website. Photosnack is a photo slideshow maker in which you can upload photos and customize them. The software is mainly used for photos, and thus, I did not feel it was suitable to include my written response on this. I will definitely be using this website in the future, as it is very easy to use and I like the simplistic approach into displaying an array of photos. The only disadvantage of using this is that upon embedding the slideshow onto my blog, as a result of using the free online version, there is still the watermark. In response to evaluation question 3, I scanned in some copies of my target audience sheets I received and imported these onto Photosnack. By doing this, I was able to show the audience the authentic versions of what my peers thought of my media products. Also, I considered inserting these onto my Prezi presentation, however, opted against this because the images would have appeared too small due to the vast quantity of writing included in response to this question. Cyberlink PowerDirector is an editing software that enables the trimming, joining, and overlaying of clips and effects. For both my work in Year 12 and 13, I use this software to edit my work. As a result of my previous experience with this software, I was sure not to waste time and was able to jump straight into the editing process once all my work had been filmed. Unfortunately, I was bound to using this software as this is what my school is able to provide us with, and I had no other alternative editing software to use in comparison to other classmates. One aspect that I particularly did not like about using this software is due to its incompatibility with older versions of PowerDirector. On my laptop at home, I have version 12, whereas at school we are working with 13, a newer version. Due to this change, I was unable to work on my editing at home because the 2 different versions were not able to work alongside each other. This proved to be extremely annoying because I believed I would have been able to finish this process much quicker if I were able to work from home. I considered doing all the editing at home, however, due to having an older version, some of the features were not as good or did not even exist. Thus, I knew that if I wanted to ultimately achieve a much better final product, I would have to edit my footage at school, despite having this disadvantage. Moreover, I found that when using this software, it was very hard to be precise with the positioning of my videos. When editing, I found that I did not have absolute freedom of placing the clips where I exactly wanted them. This, in combination with the other factors, made my lip singing not match perfectly in time with the song. I tried to work past this, however, and attempted to make it as close as possible. Finally, possibly the part that frustrated me the most when using Cyberlink Power Director was that as soon as I put the footage on the timeline, the quality of my videos was significantly reduced. Not only this, but the same thing occurred when I came to exporting my video and eventually uploading it to YouTube. Due to this technical difficulty, it made it very hard for me to achieve a professional-looking music video when the quality of my music video was greatly reduced, especially when this was outside my control. Not only was this the case with the clips, but also the text, which became very pixelated as soon as I inserted it onto the timeline. In all honesty, I can't think of many benefits that came about when using this editing software, apart from the fact that it enabled me to produce my music video. I had the opportunity to use another software, I definitely would have done and would not recommend the use of this to other people wishing to create a video or some other form of media product. Due to having not used the green screen in any other part of my blog, I wanted to include this technology for one of my evaluation questions. I was familiar with using it because as a class, we had tested it out during our preliminary task, so it did not take long for me to set up and begin filming. I chose to use the green screen for question 2. How effective is the combination of your main product and ancillary texts? I decided to use it for this question because I had enough content to talk about face to face with the camera without the audience becoming too distracted. The overall length of the video is 8 minutes and 38 seconds, which I think is a just about right time in maintaining the reader's interest. Despite being happy with the overall outcome of this evaluation question response, I do think that the production of it could have been improved if I had done a few things differently. Firstly, due to having the green screen only for a few hours in the evening, the only time I was able to film was later on in the evening, which clearly meant the quality was reduced due to my use in artificial lighting. This, with a combination of using Cyberlink Power Director, meant the quality of my green screen footage was not quite up to scratch. Although, this did not matter so much because I wanted the main focus to be on the work that I produced. Using a combination of videos and images, I was able to successfully match these in time with the audio to link with what I was saying, which I think proved to be an effective way of answering this question. As commented on previously, by uploading this onto Cyberlink Power Director, of course the quality became reduced, which was annoying, but hopefully it is clear of the message I wanted to give and it came across successfully. To create my final digipack, I used Photoshop to edit images I had taken on my iPhone 7 during the filming of my music video. It was not hard to limit these down to the 4 images I would use because I followed the conventions of alternative rock digipacks in most cases, which helped to influence my decision in doing so. Photoshop can be used for almost any kind of image editing, such as touching up photos, creating high-quality graphics, and much more. It is an extremely powerful application and is used by many professional photographers and designers in the media world. Due to this, I will not lie, I found this extremely hard to use and get my head around. Gratefully, with the help of my peers and teachers, I finally was able to create my digipack, which overall I am very, very proud of considering the very minimal knowledge I had of Photoshop before this process began. Similarly with Cyberlink Power Director, The newest version is extremely expensive, and in no way was I able to purchase this software when I needed it for such a short period of time. Although I was able to download a free trial which lasted 7 days, which was just about long enough so that I was able to work on my digipack from both home and at school. Out of all the technology I have used over the course of the 2 years, Photoshop is one out of 2 of my favourite softwares I have been introduced to. This is because it is so diverse and allowed me to be very artistic and produce a realistic and professional looking digipack which works well next to my final product. The part that I enjoyed the most was creating the lens flare and soft omni effects in my photos, which allowed them to work well within the alternative rock genre. Not only was Photoshop useful in creating my digipack, but it was also useful in making my merchandise which exists on my website. I decided to make my own merchandise because the real ones made by the White Stripes did not fit in with my colour scheme of green, black and white. By using Photoshop, it allowed me to create realistic looking products, which overall I'm very proud of. Alongside Photoshop, Wix was my other favourite piece of technology I used throughout the whole process. Wix is a cloud-based web development platform that allows users to create HTML5 websites and mobile sites through the use of online drag and drop tools. I used this technology which allowed me to create a professional looking website for the White Stripes. One of the benefits of using Wix is that it allowed me to select a template already made for the purposes of alternative rock artists that was displayed under the music category. This ensured I was able to fully portray the conventions of alternative rock websites when creating my own. However, what was essential was that I did not simply follow this template without using any input of my own. This was one of the main reasons I enjoyed using Wix, because especially with it being free, I was granted with a lot of freedom in which I was able to create the exact website I had originally envisioned. Moreover, despite the icons not working at school due to the restricted access of social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I was able to insert button links to these websites which displayed the realistic functions of artists and websites. This was perfect because alternative rock bands often rely on branding and promotion through social media, especially in an increasingly modernizing era, which resulting in the concept of a shrinking world. Thus, these icons, which were provided by Wix, aided me to fully follow the conventions of artists' websites of this genre. Not only did Wix permit me to link to social media platforms, but also the convergence of other media technologies such as YouTube videos of the White Stripes' other music videos they have created. As a result of the convergence that Wix successfully allowed me to do, my website is a true representation of other alternative rock websites that can be found online. As stated previously, Wix sites are accessible from both laptop and computers and mobile devices, which allows the audience much more freedom in how they would wish to access my website. Ultimately, this would increase the popularity of it, thus increasing the promotional aspect of the White Stripes, which is crucial to their success. I was able to incorporate voice recordings into my evaluation question in question 1. In what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? I thought this was a very suitable way to display my thoughts and opinions on this question because it allowed me to be personal with the reader and really elaborate on my response to this question. To do this, I used the Voice Memos app on my iPhone to record this, which much to my surprise, the quality ended up being a lot clearer than I had originally thought it would be. However, when I had recorded my answer to this question, I did not believe my response included enough technological advancements as possible, and thus was not a clear representation of my media abilities. Thus, to improve the quality of my work, I used a combination of images, GIFs, and videos, which I assembled using PowerDirector to accompany this piece of work. Fortunately, I was able to match the different media images in time with the audio, so this would change and adapt in time and in line with what I was saying.